it's me again. I saw a lot of people like doing this on their booktubes, so I want to do it too. It's the mid-year book freakout tag, which I should have done in June, but probably by the time you're watching this, it's July, so it's a little past the mid-year mark, but like that's fine. So I should probably start out this video by saying that I have read, hold on, let me check my Goodreads stats. I've read 35 books this year. So this is, you know, the top or the bottom of the literally 35 books I've read this year. If you see me looking like this way, it's because my computer's on the floor with all the questions because I don't remember what they are. But anyway, let's start because I feel like that's what you're here for. You want to hear about the mid-year book tag. So probably most of these are on my Kindle, so I can't even hold them up and like show them to you. So if they're on my Kindle, I'm literally just gonna hold my Kindle so that I have something to hold when I talk to you about the book. Okay, I had to go find my Kindle, but I found it. Here it is. I have my little pop socket on it so I can read with one hand. How great. Anyway, okay, so the first question is the best book that you've read so far this year. And I honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, I have my Goodreads open so that I can look at all of the books I've read this year. I have 2, so I'm kind of cheating. But the first one I read on my Kindle because it was an ARC, which by the time you're watching this, it either comes out in like 10 days or 11 days because it comes out July 11th. And it's Out on a Limb. I'll put the cover here. It's Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I hope I said her name right. That would be so embarrassing if I didn't. I wrote like a whole blog post about it that she shared and like a million other people shared. Like, oh my god, I was like so overwhelmed. But it was like, oh my god, my heart is so happy. Anyway, Out on a Limb is coming out July 11th, and it is literally, I think, my favorite book like of all time now because it's so sweet and I loved it. And it's basically, let me give you the plot summary because that's what you're here for. So it follows Win and Bo, and they have like a one-night stand at a Halloween party. They're both dressed as pirates. Not really a spoiler, but I think it's so fun because they're pirates. That's hysterical. It's also in like chapter 3, so. Anyway, they have a one-night stand and then Winnie gets pregnant, and so it kind of follows that whole, you know, pregnancy, and they don't really know each other. They just had a, you know, one-night stand. And it's also a really great story. Like, it's a great story because it's romance and because Hannah's hysterical and I was laughing literally every other page, or maybe even every page. It was hysterical. But it's also a really great story because it's written just like a regular romance, like, you know, with all the steamy and the spicy and the cute and all blah 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 blah, all the stuff you love in a romance, right? But also it's really great, and it's one of the reasons that I really loved it is because both main characters have a disability. Bo he's an amputee, so he's got a prosthetic leg, and Win has a limb difference, like me, which was really cool to read about. She has 3 fingers, I have 4. Here they are, beautiful. So it was really cool to like see that in a book because I've never seen that in a book before, and I, you know, cried about it to Hannah. And I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Anyway, so that was one of my favorite books of the year. And then the other one, hold on. Okay, I got it. I had to move everything over. The other one of my favorite books of the whole year so far was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I had been anticipating this since she like first announced it, whenever that was, like last year. And I was like, oh my god, Emily Henry's coming out with another book. Like, I need this in my life, obviously. And I loved it. It was so incredible. I literally, I brought it like upstate with me. I went upstate with my family. And I was like, oh, it's like a little getaway. Like, I'll bring a book about like a little getaway up there. No, I literally had to go and like hide in my room because I like desperately needed to finish this. And then I cried. She really should have called it Sad Place because it did not make me happy for half the book. Should have been Sad Place, Emily Henry. Should have renamed it. But all jokes aside, I really did love this one. Also, I bought this one signed, and I just like to show it off because it makes me feel things. There it is, beautiful. So, those were my favorite books of the year. I'm not counting rereads. So now the next book freak out tag question thing is the best sequel that I have read this year, which I also read on my Kindle. So I'll put a title like over here. Maybe it's over here. I don't know. I'm gonna put it somewhere on the screen. And the best like sequel, I mean, this is kind of cheating because this is the third book. But the best one that I read was definitely Final Offer by Lauren Asher. So it's the third book in the series. I loved it. I rated it 5 stars. And it was just so cute. Like, I honestly loved it. I love the Dreamland Billionaire series. And I loved this book. Hold on, I'm trying to look at my review. My review literally just says, why am I crying? Which seems to be a theme. A lot of books this year have just made me cry. Which means they're good. So, I really loved this one. I mean, I loved these characters from the first 2 books. I was, again, like I said, for Happy Place, I was really excited for this release because I had read the other 2, I think I read them last year, in the Dreamland Billionaire series, and I loved them. And I already loved, like, Cal. I thought he was, like, so fun. And so I was like, you know what? I'm really excited for this. And sometimes, like, when you're really excited for things, like, they're kind of a letdown. This was not. It was really, really good. And, like, Cal and Lana, and then the little kid whose name I literally cannot remember. That is so embarrassing. Why can't I remember her name? Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. But I loved her, too. I'm just really bad at names. I loved her. I loved the dynamic that was there. It was just such a sweet book. It was like a second chance romance, which I adore. I love second chance romances. And technically, if I'm cheating, I would also say Consider Me, which is the Playing for Keeps series. I'm gonna double check that. Again, I got the sequel name wrong. The sequel is Play With Me. Consider Me is the first one. Play With Me is the second one. It's by Becca Mack. It's Playing for Keeps, the series. And technically I've read those back to back. So maybe it's cheating by saying that's also my favorite sequel because I literally read them like consecutively. But I really love that. And I love my hockey romances. I think they're really fun. And this one was really fun. I mean, this one was, first of all, I love my hockey romances. Like, if it involves hockey, I will most likely enjoy it. This one is fun because I love my hockey boyfriend, Garrett Graham. And this guy's name is also Garrett, which is really fun because hockey men named Garrett are obviously superior. Anyway, this one follows Garrett and Jenny is Garrett's best friend, also hockey captain Carter Beckett. First of all, what a man. Carter Beckett's little sister Jenny, and that's who Garrett like has feelings for. And so they kind of do this like thing where they like almost friends with benefits kind of thingamajig, something like that. Anyway, but they like keep it a secret. Ugh, it was so good. I'm like trying not to tell you the entire plot because I don't want to spoil it if you've never read it. But if you like hockey romances, read both of them because the third book is coming out, I believe, this summer. I think it's this summer. So I would definitely get on that and read it before Adam's book comes out, because also Adam released that you haven't read but you want to. And I don't know if it's because it's like really hyped up right now or if I would actually like it. I think I would really like it. And it's Fourth Wing. I'm gonna put the cover here. But I feel like everybody's reading Fourth Wing and I feel a little left out. So I think I would really, really enjoy Fourth Wing. Like I think that I would really like that. But every time I try to like buy it somewhere, it's sold out. So hopefully I can get my hands on a copy, because I think that's one of those books that you like really have to like hold and read. Like it's not one that I can read on my Kindle. At least that's what I think. So that's one that I really want to read. So if you've read it, tell me if it's good, because I don't know if it's like overhyped or if it actually is really good. So the next question is like a release that's like coming out that I'm like really excited for, and I just had to search because I don't remember when books come out. It's a really bad problem of mine. But I just like did a quick little Google search, or I like went through my Goodreads to see what I had put on my want to read shelf that hasn't come out yet. And I really want to read Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I just love her writing. I read, what is it? These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends. I think those are the name of the titles. If they're not, pretend I said the right ones. But I really did like those, and I like the way that she writes. And I've heard from people who like got arcs that I've like seen on like Book Talk or Bookstagram or something, that it's really good. And that comes out July 18th, so very soon. So I'm very, very excited to have the opportunity to read that one. This question is biggest disappointment, and that's like kind of hard because I usually don't read books that I don't think I'm gonna like. And usually like when I read a book, I end up really liking it. Like I rate almost everything like 4 or 5 stars. So I was like looking through what I've read so far this year to kind of see what would have maybe been a disappointment. And I don't want to talk about books that I like DNF'd because I just don't feel like that's necessary. I think some people might be like, oh my god, what? Because this book was hyped up all over Book Talk, which is why I read it. And it's the, what's it called? The Cat and Mouse Duet. So it's, I'll put the covers like over here or somewhere on the screen, but it's Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline. So I didn't hate it. I think I rated them 3 stars, like both of them. Like I liked it enough to keep reading like both of them because like the plot is good. I just think maybe I'm not a dark romance person, which is like a personal problem and has nothing to do with the book. But I just like, it was so hyped up that I was like, oh, maybe I can be a person that enjoys this. But I like the plot. I don't know if I liked the romance, which is why I rated it 3 stars, because the plot like was really good. The plot really kept me like, oh my god, like I need to keep reading. But I don't know, the romance was just like not hitting for me, I guess. If you like them, that's great. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and bash them because they were like good. They just weren't great. Going along with biggest disappointment is biggest surprise. And I honestly have to say that I was very surprised by this book because it took me like 5 months to finish it. Not because it wasn't good, but because I was always in the mood to read something else. And I literally, this is perfect because I literally just finished this yesterday. But it's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is really not my genre. I am primarily like a cheesy romance or a sports romance or general romance reader. This was very much not my genre. I believe this is like a magical realism kind of thing. I could be completely wrong. But for those of you who don't know what Addie LaRue is about, Addie LaRue is about this girl, Addie LaRue, and she basically makes a deal with the devil. Fun. Love that. Get out of something that she really wanted to do back in like the 1700s. I'm not gonna tell you what it was because I don't want to spoil the book. But she basically makes a deal with him, and so the deal is kind of like, he kind of warps it a little bit because obviously the devil tricks you. And so for the next 300 years, so it goes from like the 1700s, the 1800s, 1900s, and then you're like in 2014. And it like flips back and forth, so like when you read it, you have to make sure you like look at the year on the top. But anyway, so for 300 years, like no one can really remember her, and that's like really sad. But then she meets somebody in a bookstore, and that is all I will tell you. This book, honestly, I don't think I would have picked it up myself if my friend didn't say that this was her favorite book literally of all time and that I should read it. So I did. And I have to say, I do understand why it is her favorite book of all time, because it was very, very good. And considering I don't read this genre like enough to say that I like this genre, I was very pleasantly surprised that I did very much enjoy Addie LaRue. Favorite new author, or like new to you, and all of the authors that I'm going to mention are in fact new to me. They are not necessarily new authors, they're just literally new to me. All of their books on my Kindle because I believe I got all of the books that I've read by them as ARCs. So, my first author that is new to me is Grace Riley. From my understanding, she read sports romances. I read my first book by her that I read was Stealing Home, which I very gratefully was able to receive as an ARC, and I loved it. I have Breakaway downloaded on my Kindle. I just haven't gotten that far yet, but I loved her writing. I loved her writing style. She was fantastic. Another author that I loved that was new to me, sorry I keep looking over there, so my Goodreads is up there, I don't want to get anybody's name wrong, is Jennifer Sukovic. Sorry if I said your name wrong. She wrote this book over here that I read. It's Hate You Always, which, if I'm remembering correctly, was a hockey romance, but I'm gonna double check that. Okay, so it was hockey. It is the first, according to Goodreads, the first in the Western Wildcats hockey series. And I loved it. It was so good. So she's new to me, and she's definitely like, I'm gonna read everything else. In the realm of sports romances is Maggie Rodon. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Over here wrote Pick Six. And I love Pick Six, and I am very excited to read Overtime, which I've shared to my like Bookstagram stories, like excerpts and stuff. She writes sports romances as well. I'm a big sports romance girl. as someone who doesn't like sports, I like sports romance, so I feel like that says a lot about me as a person. Anyway, I loved her writing. She's definitely like an auto-buy author, and so she is definitely one of my favorite new authors that's new to me. And last but not least is Hannah Bonham Young, whose books I literally discovered this year. I have Next of Kin, some up here, and I have Next to You up there. And I'm in the middle of nine, and it's really, really good. So she is obviously not a one-hit wonder. She is fantastic, and I want her to be my BFF. So those are a few of my new favorite authors. I definitely have a lot of favorite authors, but those are ones that are new to me. And if you haven't read any of their books and you're like, who are these people? Like, go read their books, because my next question is like newest fictional crush, which is really hard because every time I read a book, I feel like I have a new book boyfriend. But the first one that came to mind, so I guess this will be my answer, I will pick one this time, is Beau from Out on a Limb. I'll put the cover over here somewhere. He is just like perfect. I loved him. He is just so like, I want to squeeze him. I want him. Like, can I buy him on Amazon? Like, where do I get a Beau? I loved him. He was literally fantastic. And you get to meet him on July 11th. So I'm really excited that everyone gets to read about Beau, because he is the best book boyfriend, I think, that I've ever met. He's just so good. I love him. I guess if I had to go runner-up, like, to Beau, oh god. Love Carter Beckett. He is definitely my runner-up. I love him. I love a good hockey man who is like a sweetheart. And he loves Oreos. And that doesn't really mean anything, but I remember that fact. And that's really fun. So, he's my runner-up. Okay, so going along with favorite crush is favorite character. And I'd be lying if I said that my newest favorite character wasn't my new BFF Harriet from Happy Place. I just love her. I think like she was so sweet, and she was just trying to be understood, and I think that she deserves the entire world, and I want to give it to her. Girls created by Emily Henry are always my favorite. She just does something. I don't know what she does, but I love her. I love Harriet. If you haven't read Happy Place yet, what are you doing? Read it. This is my new bestie, so you need to read her. Next question is books that made you cry. And I feel like every book I read this year made me cry. So let's do a quick rundown. Happy Place made me cry. Let's see, what else? Out on a Limb made me cry. Let's see. Addie LaRue made me cry at the end. Like little tears. But Out on a Limb and Happy Place made me like violently sob like a baby. So I'm looking at my reviews and I forgot to say Say You Swear made me ugly cry like a baby. Another book that made me cry that I literally almost forgot to mention was If He Had Been With Me. I have no words for that book and what it did to me. Nobody told me when they told me to read that book that that's what happened. So, sobbed. Honestly, all the books that made me cry, like my crying pictures are literally saved in the Books and Life highlight on my Bookstagram if you want to go tap through and watch me cry. Books that made me cry. Now I'm going to talk about books that made me happy, which I think was like every other book that I read this year. But again, I keep looking at my Goodreads like reading wrap up because I need to make sure that I get every book. So just looking over at it real quick, I'm gonna list them off on my fingers, and I'll put the covers somewhere so that you can see them, the ones I'm talking about. I just finished yesterday A Deal with the Devil. That was really good. That one made me giggle a lot of times. How to Honeymoon Alone. That was a good one. That one came out recently, I think, like in June. I read that as an ARC, and it was really, really good. Hate You Always was a good one. Love a good sports romance. Going along with the sports romance, Pick Six. Pick Six was really good too. The Offer made me really happy. Loved that one. Replaying the Game. That's by my lovely friend over on Bookstagram, Emily Tudor, which Emily's Library, I'll put over here. This is my lovely, lovely friend, and she wrote a very lovely, lovely book that made me giggle and kick my feet and all the things that a good romance is supposed to do. And that's a sports romance, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. She just like Tudor the guy. Oh, loved it. If you like The Deal, you'll love that one. I really liked It Figures. That was, I think, besides from Look Off With Love, that was like the very first figure skating book that I've read. That was like, and it was like ice dance. Oh my god, I'm getting happy just talking about it because I love ice dance. That is my favorite figure skating discipline. And so reading a book about ice dance made me really happy. Two Wrongs Make a Right. That was highly anticipated. Did I read that this year? You should read that this year because it's in my 23rd. Okay. Play With Me and Consider Me. Those were really, really good. Love on the Brain, I really enjoyed. That was cute. How to Keep a Husband for 10 Days. Wait, I have the book so I can hold it up. I have by my lovely, now I can call my friend, Jessica Hatch. She signed this one for me too. I love when I have signed books. This one was really cute and funny, and if you like the fake dating marriage of convenience type thing, that's not really what this is, but it was really, really good. They're basically already married, and then they're like, oh my god, we're gonna separate. But they have to pretend to still be together because their friends are all visiting, and they don't want their friends to know that they're separated because they're all like in the same friend group. Oh my god. This book made me so happy, and it was like my second read of the year. So that's saying something that I still remember this book. And then I read this one because I got the ARC and I needed to be the first one. So Joss and Gemma Make a Baby, hysterical. And then Joss and Gemma the second time around was also really good. I remember that. So a lot of books made me happy this year. Honestly, most books I read make me really happy, but those are ones that were like, I was giggling and kicking my feet and like really. Which was the prettiest book that you've bought or received? I bought this one in my last Barnes & Noble haul. Please ignore the Barnes & Noble sticker that I have not yet taken off. But it is this beautiful Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of If We Were Villains. I showed it off, I think, in my Instagram story when I first did my haul. But it has these beautiful edges. Look, I love the black edges. I think that really adds such a depth. And then the cover is just so pretty. It's so pretty. This is really one of the prettiest books that I own. I'm not a collector of pretty books because I tend to destroy my books. I bend them and all that stuff. I think I mentioned that in my last video, that I am a book destroyer because I think a well-loved book should look well-loved. But I saw this on the table. It was literally the last one in the store, and I was like, I think I need to own that. So this is by far the prettiest book. I want to say a contender just based on the cover, but this book, Gallant, I think it's how you pronounce it, it just looks so nice, and I just think it looks so pretty. And I usually don't like these weird 2-page cover things, but I just think that this is so, I'm trying to get it so you can see it. I think this is so like cool looking. I think it looks the same for Addie LaRue. And so Addie LaRue, I think just V.E. Schwab just does a really good job on her covers. I only own 2 books by her. But, I mean, Addie LaRue is beautiful. I love the continuing of the, like, constellation of the 7 stars, which is the theme in the book, if you've read it. If you know, you know. And then when you take the dust jacket off, I'm only taking off the front part, because I want you to see, like, the stars in there. I just think that that's so beautiful. So, and then it has birds. I don't know if you could see the birds. There's birds, which is another thing in the book. And I love that, like, the book, like, connects to the story. Like, the cover connects to the story. I love that. So those 3 are, like, the pretty. This one is books I need to read by the end of the year. And my TBR is so long that I could probably make a stack. I just compiled my stack. It's falling. All of these books I would like to read by the end of the year. So let me go through them with you. We're gonna do it. It's a quick thing because I have nothing to say about them because I've literally never read them. First, Love Life Farms. Need to read it. Second, this book scares me because it is so thick. Things We Never Got Over. I have had this book on my shelf forever. Need to read it. Ugly Love. Like 5 people have told me to read it, so I need to do that. The Atlas 6. I feel like I missed the train of everyone reading the Atlas 6 and now I feel left out. So I need to read it. 7 Days in June, which has been on my TBR forever, and I literally just bought it. So now, obviously, I need to read it. Carrie Soto is back because it came out in paperback, so I finally bought it. Need to read that. And then, there's a lot of figure skating books in this one, but we're going to go through that really quickly. Finding Her Edge. Need I say more? Not a figure skating book, but funny you should ask, because I bought the sequel, Once More with Feeling, and I can't read this until I read this. So, I need to read that. The Summer of Broken Rules. If you look on my Bookstagram, it looks like I'm reading it. I'm not. That was for the picture. So, I need to read this. Oh, it's a floppy paperback. I need to read this one. Hopefully this summer. We'll always have summer because I read the first 2, and then the second one made me so sad that I didn't read the third one, and now I need to read the third one. Another figure skating book, After the Gold. Need I say more? Another figure skating book, Fake Dates and Ice Skates. This one kind of scares me because, again, it is really thick. I can do it though. I believe myself. Another figure skating book, The Ice Between Us, which I said on the Instagram story that I started, and I went to go start it, and then I remembered I didn't finish books, and I wanted to finish them, so I didn't start this one yet. Sorry, I'm a liar. And the last one, again, it is so thick that it scares me, is A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime, because I just really want to read it. Like, I feel like it's been taunting me on my shelf. So, those are all the books that I really, really want to read this year. And I have about 5 months to do so. So I think I can do it. So the next one is favorite book to movie adaptation that I've seen this year. And I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to do a TV show. And it's Daisy Jones and the Six, because I think they did an excellent job, which is really hard to do sometimes with, like, books. But it's really hard to get, like, a good adaptation. But I really do think that Daisy Jones and the Six is a very good adaptation. I so strongly believe that. So that is my vote. I have watched movies that were books that I didn't know were books. Spanish one. My Fault, I think it's called. I don't know what it's called in Spanish, but I believe it's a book. I didn't read it. I watched the movie. The movie was really good though. So maybe the book is also good. Can't tell you that though, because I didn't read it. So that is all the questions of the mid-year book freakout tag. This was really fun. I kind of got to remember what I've read. I also realized that I don't always remember what I've read, which may be a problem. But we don't need to talk about that right now. As always, if you have any kind of video request, you can DM me on Instagram. You can comment it down below. You can tell me however you want what you want to see. I did ask on my Instagram story what people wanted to see. And I think somebody said vlogs. My life is not very interesting. I really don't do anything. But if you want me to vlog a day in my life of me probably just sitting in my house all day, I can do that if you want to watch that. So if you do, you can tell me that you would watch that and I'll film it for you. Other than that, you know, if you have anything you want to say, feel free. You know, subscribe, like, share with your friends. You should follow me on Bookstagram, which is over here or over there. I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it somewhere, but you should definitely follow me on Bookstagram. And for those of you who don't follow me on Bookstagram and don't know, I do have a blog. It is readswithgab.com. Very fancy. I have a domain. It's basically where I do book reviews a lot more in depth. Like, a lot more in depth. So if you're into that, I have, I think, 4 up right now. So you can go check that out. I'm very proud of my blog. I think it looks really nice. I'm really proud of it. I do have a book talk as well. If you want to follow me there, it is Reads with Gab. Very one name brand here going on. But I had a lot of fun doing this. So this is fun. If you have any other requests, let me know. Thank you. Goodbye.